Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Student Insider podcast. I am of course joined once again by Alex. Alex, how are you doing today?
I am doing pretty good, thanks Luke. How are you doing?
Yeah, good to hear. How's everything been?
Yeah, this fly's annoying me, not lie, but...
Oh, there is a fly here,
yeah,
unfortunately.
I've been good. Wrapping up my last week of my placement, finish next Wednesday, and it's going.
It's quite soon.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been a year already.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I can't believe it's been like a whole year already.
Yeah, time been going fast, but yeah, it's been good, and yeah, ready to move on to the next little chapter, going back to uni.
Next steps of life, yeah.
Finish
it's
up
all
my last
exciting.
year.
It's like everyone's, for me anyway, people that didn't go on placement yet, they're all graduated now, so it's been interesting to see like on LinkedIn and things like, oh, congrats, I've got my placement here, or I'm working here now.
Yeah, I've seen
what
I've
people
seen a
are
lot
up to.
of like people like happy to accept this new role kind of thing, which is
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. It's so exciting actually. It's like really just cool to see like what people are doing after they've graduated, like 3 years of study. Like where does that lead them?
Yeah,
It's exciting times.
I was thinking back actually, on like a completely, kind of a related note anyway, like how different could my life look if I didn't go to uni? Just like in terms of, I don't know, in like different kind of life paths, like in terms of like, so I was looking back and thinking like the different things that I've done and like what could have happened / not happened if I didn't go to uni. It's weird, like you can't really control like if someone says yes to something, right? So like for like a job application, you can't control someone says yes to it and stuff like that. Anyway, so I was thinking like if I didn't go to uni, I wouldn't have got a couple of jobs that I'd worked in the last recent years, just because of the strong correlation they were to university. It's weird to think about. It's like, so for example, I worked as like the marketing lead for like a coach that like coached head teachers in second year, like over the summer, something like that. And the reason I got that role was also because it was advertised exclusively to UVA students through like the Career Central thing. And then a project I'm starting in like mid-September, also advertised exclusive to UVA students. It's like weird how those steps I've made kind of like in the marketing industry is like been because of university related. I don't know, it's interesting to think about, I think.
Yeah, well, I think it is because
It's like-
uni's like such a big chunk of your life. So it's obviously like 3 whole years of speculation of what would have, But I don't like to speculate too much because I think that, especially for someone in our position now, we're like, 20, 21, and there's probably only people that are watching that are even younger, maybe a bit older, but even still, like when you're this early in your 20s, like I don't think that, the time matters, but you also have a lot of it left.
Yeah, I
like to think.
There's the whole like debate, like should you go to university or not, and I feel like it's such an individual answer, like to what you want to do, what you're thinking of that time. There's also the bit of, you can go whenever you want, like it's not going away, but it's like I feel like still the graduate market is still like degree, and then you can like apply to it. It's easy to get role, and then there's the whole thing of entry level jobs on experience, right?
Yeah,
that's like another whole thing. I don't know where we got onto this from, but it's actually an interesting topic. Like how there's like a circle entry level job. There's all like a graph on LinkedIn. It's like an entry level job is like, okay, you want to apply for the job, but you need some experience. But I need to be able to get the job to get the experience. It's like another ending.
Yeah, it's just the cycle of unfortunate the graduates end up slipping into. I think it's just a very unfortunate thing that happens.
That's why I think, for example, like doing different. We've talked about this before, but like doing different things within why you're at university is so important. Like doing that like multifaceted. Like having learning about whatever industry you're interested in, or just like putting time into it. Like for example, me, bit of marketing, like just dabbling with different things, doing some photography here or whatever. Just those things. I think that's what makes it easier post university, but it's not like it's too late after. It's like I feel like there's a value in kind of just wanting to do things for free and not like having to get paid for it. Obviously, I feel like. Yeah, there's lots into this thing anyway. But like, if someone's asking you for free work, I think you should really question it, because like then they're trying to get stuff out of you for free, Unless there's like a but then if you're offering to do something with someone for free, that's a different story because you want to do it. You want to get some experience for it. For example, so in 2020, I done some work for a coffee shop. Right? I was like, "Oh, can I do some photography for you?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I don't want to get paid for it. Just want some experience." And yeah, I done some photography for him for free. Went there a few hours. Me and my mate Naral, who had done some photography there for him, sent him some photos, and he was like, "Oh, have you got any more?" I was like, "Yeah, I can charge you X per photo for any extras." I said I was gonna give you this amount for free. He was like, "Yeah, sure." So it kind of shows the value you can get out after doing stuff for free as well. Like even if it's short term, even if it's long term.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that also raises a couple of questions about like kind of knowing what you're worth. You know, as a graduate, 'cause I think that a lot of jobs and things, like you really need to look, because I mean employers are just people at the end of the day. They don't have to listen to certain rules. Like if you have a specification, you know, you could be doing the same job but being paid completely differently, right? So I think it's quite important to know like your worth, especially I guess with like jobs you're working for free in, but there's definitely value in it, especially as a student anyway, because the money's not a big factor in your life as a student anyway.
Yeah,
you know,
it becomes like more important I guess later on, but it can also be important. It really depends on your situation, how important it is at any certain time, but yeah.
It's definitely interesting to think about like what could have, you know, happened if you did do different things, but I don't know if it's too smart to dwell on it too much.
Yeah, but I actually, okay, so I know we've gone on a big divergent, but I was actually, in terms of like question of the week, I kind of just thought of one in my head. I know you're going to ask me one, but I'm just going to ask it because I feel like it's an interesting question. If so like if money wasn't a factor at all, like either you had like enough money to like comfortably live off and you didn't have to like put a significant amount of time into your job, what do you think you would do? Like say you had I don't know, talk for argument's sake, 5 or 10 grand coming in a month, you're completely fine, your theoretical, like say you like in the future, like your whole like I don't know, wife and kids are fine, they got their money sorted. Like, cool. What would you think you would do with your time? Even in terms of like you now, say you had wherever you're living, whatever you're doing, your money's fine, you can live comfortably. What do you think you would do with your time? That's something I've been thinking about recently. So,
I think what it boils down to for me is that there's like two big paths that you can take in life, and one of those is just sort of taking the career, like work. I don't not like the work to live to work kind of like argument, but more as in like your meaning in your life comes from your career and what you achieve in your career. I think that seems to be like the default. But there's also like, you know, a different way of looking at it, and Tim Ferriss talks a lot about this in the 4-Hour Work Week, which I think you read, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Good book. We'll put that in show notes.
Spoken about multiple times. I think I've read it like twice, or like once I didn't completely finish reading it and then read it again. It's
definitely one of those books you have to reread to like brush up on knowledge. But in I mean, from Tim Ferriss's point of view anyway, like life's meaning comes from everything except work. Like work is like just a means to facilitate the rest of your life. You know, and his book is basically about optimizing your time in a way that you're spending a lot less time working and a lot more time doing other stuff that, you know, that you would find meaningful in life. Like maybe, I don't know, you have like a hobby or something, or you want to travel, etc. But, you know, for some people, that not having that purpose, just having that money and then doing whatever, it can be a bit daunting. And I think
it can be like, so he talks about in the book, I think he calls it not existential dread, filling the void. Yeah. Filling the void. And so, for example, say you have this theoretical, you have this money sorted for you, and you can kind of like don't have to work that job that you need to get that income. So you've built a business, and it's like it's pretty much like automated. You're working on like 10 hours a week on it, or like you've built a business, you've sold it, whatever, you know. And he talks about filling the void, which I think is interesting. And if you look at Tim Ferriss now, for example, he makes his podcast, right? He maybe makes an episode a week or whatever. That's kind of like an example of a passion project that he put time into after like having that, put that loads of, like a lot of business people you see, they put a load of time in their younger years to then get that success and then be able to like do things which they might be more passionate about, things that provide more value to society. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's an interesting thought.
I think the void is like a big thing for everyone, right? And it's one of those things you can't really avoid. I think just the way that sort of the world is structured now, like people, you're given like this education and then you're kind of just thrown in the deep end, like, you know, you just figure it out, which I think is quite scary. And I think that Daniel Goleman talks a lot about like this in emotional intelligence, being like kids aren't really taught like how to deal with like that existential dread properly. And I think it's something that probably you should really think about like where that meaning comes from in your life. But I think one of the things that I've just thought about really is that does life really have to have meaning, you know? Can't you just like enjoy it while you have it, you know?
I heard this quote. It was like, everyone's seeking the meaning of life when the meaning of life is just to live, or something like that.
Something like Viva la vida. Is that like the Spanish thing, right? Live life.
Oh, is it?
Viva la vida. Yeah. Yeah, but I think, well, I mean, my position anyway, if I had money in the world, I think my thing would just be like, just to, because one of the big reasons I started doing science is because part of me wanted answers to things. Like I wanted to figure out exactly what like life is, like, you know, and I thought science could do that for me, and so far it hasn't, to be honest. Which I don't want to say it's disappointing, because I've still learned a lot and science is still like really fascinating, but it didn't give me an answer. Like things started to make a lot more sense to me, like in sort of like how things work on like a biological sense, but still things didn't, like that void wasn't really filled for me. So I think what I would probably do is just to travel the world and just make the most of what there is out there, like the different cultures and the history, the people. So I think that just as social creatures that humans are, I think that a lot of meaning in your life will just by default come from making like good relationships with people.
Yeah, 100%. I think like, you know, relationships, experiences. Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of scientific evidence saying that like, you know, like friendships and just social interaction is so good for like your mental well-being and just living like a happier life. Like people that are more engaged with their friends and stuff generally a lot happier on like surveys and things like that. So I think that just we're kind of hardwired for that meaning to be found from that social side. So it's something I'd be interested in exploring.
Yeah, I remember hearing that like this triangle of happiness, right?
Oh,
I think
not a pyramid scheme, is it?
No, not an MLM.
The pyramid scheme of happiness.
Like it was talking about how your happiness could be defined as in three things on this triangle, right? So you have your triangle, and you have three sections. You've got your health, wealth, and relationships. And it's like if relationships. And it's like this person was saying like if one is lacking, if like say two are strong, one is lacking, and you're like you're not like as happy as you was before, or like as you think you could be. Maybe you see if one of them you're not putting your time, you put enough time into, like which one of them three, like that is. He was saying like is like the three like main factors of like just happiness. And I think it was really interesting to think about how you could put it into like three categories, like something simple that you can just like comprehend in your head.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anyone on this planet that's right in the middle of that triangle. I'll be honest. I don't think there's anyone. Like
it's like how when people are like 100% happy is like it's like it's just a weird kind of goal. Like of course it's like we say okay, obviously people want to be happy, like want to be happy, like I feel like being happy just becomes from being I'm happy, like you can be happy or not be happy.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of misconception around like just sort of, you know, finding meaning in life and just like, I just want to be happy. Like, you know, you want to have money, you want to be happy. Like, you want to have a family because you want to be happy. But like, you know, I think that from what I've read in books anyway, and from my own experience, like it is just unachievable to be happy 24/7. And I think that, you know, a part of being happy is also like appreciating the times when you're not as happy, because you're never going to be like happy all the time. You'd be like a psychopath pretty much. Like you'd have to have like some sort of like, you know, something going wrong to always be happy. Like it's not a normal thing. It's not human to be happy all the time, you know.
I guess the brain would always have to be stimulated, like something to keep those levels of happiness up. But then I guess over time that would just not be happy because you should be used to it. So then you would need something even better. So
yeah, you just have to appreciate like what you have.
I guess it comes to gratitude.
It is very much just like, and even appreciate the negatives. Like on those days where you feel sad, like just take that time to just feel sad and feel like, you know, not good for its sake. It doesn't mean your life's falling apart. It just means that you're human, you know. But yeah, that's probably what I do. Probably just a little bit of traveling, I think.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I think like experiencing different cultures is really interesting. Like because you can see like a whole new perspective of life and kind of like. So I was in Spain and I was like, they're like in Spain a lot of the shops close between like 1:30 to like 5 o'clock. Like they have like their siesta, well basically they close for the afternoon, and it's like people were like out early in the morning. Then you're in the streets during like in that like prime time, which could be in the UK like in the afternoon. It's basically it's empty. There's not many people like at the shops. But then in the evening, like everything comes back to life again. I think it's an interesting how different culture change and how every different country has those little things that are different, and that's why I think traveling is interesting, and
it's just ways of living, isn't it? You just you never know, like, unless you go and experience it.
And I guess it opens your eyes to just different things, especially when you go into the used to the same thing every day, or like how things are, and seeing the different things and then making those questions. Oh, also going back to something we said before, it was like you talk about like science and how you want to like understand things more. I feel like the more we understand things, the more questions we have.
Yeah.
Like
there's like a paradox, isn't it? There's like there is a paradox. It has a name. I know that there's someone famous for that, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like the more questions we ask, the more answers we get. The more questions that then does ask. So it's kind of like a never-ending loop, and I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's difficult.
Life's
difficult.
Yeah. It's
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually like one of the things that, you know, I've spoken about this a couple of times, but during the summer when I was really down, one of the things that I realised is like, you know, it's just like what I was saying earlier about, you know, you always feel like everything's going wrong, like life's difficult, but you just have to kind of join the struggle, because I think everyone's like struggling in their own right.
Yeah.
And I felt like instead of me blaming the world for being difficult, I just kind of came to the conclusion that the world's difficult, and then that just made things a lot more easier from then on.
Like if everything was easy, then what's the point, I guess? Like, what's the point if everything was just it's just how it is? But like, life isn't supposed to be easy. Then it would be boring, wouldn't it not?
Yeah, there's I don't know if you watch Rick and Morty, but
No, I haven't.
I actually really like some of the philosophy that they actually have in that show is actually really exciting for me anyway, because I know it's like supposed to be like a silly, like, you know, adult cartoon, whatever. But there's this one episode where I can't remember exactly what happens, but I think one of the characters, Morty, basically starts living like consequence free. I think it's actually the episode where he basically has, you know, like in a game where you can save and go back to your save point.
Okay, yeah.
He had one of those. So basically he like couldn't make mistakes. And he realised that with that he was living like without any consequences, and he said that without any consequences life has no meaning. So that was something that got me thinking a while back.
That's
like
interesting.
there has to be consequences to your actions, otherwise what's the point in even acting in the first place? Something to think about.
I guess that kind of like makes you think like, what would you learn from if you didn't have regrets, or if you didn't have failures? Like, I know from like mistakes I've made, like just small mistakes I've made in work, I've learned from them, you know, like not been the end of the world at all, but it's like if I didn't make that failure, it wouldn't have created that learning lesson.
Life's about learning, right? That's what I like to think anyway. But yeah, anyway, let's switch topics.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know where this was going, but anyway, I think that was interesting. But
we don't have a
topic.
We haven't
even introduced that this was a social episode, so it's still.
How long have we been talking?
We've been talking for 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Yeah, so guys, this is another social episode. If you go back to episode 10, you'll recall that we spoke about some different things like time travel. I think we spoke about.
Yes, I think we talked a bit about eudaimonia, which I think was also the topic of happiness. So
yeah,
we'll circle back to that.
We do fall back to those kind of things, but
yeah.
Something that I've been thinking a lot more about recently is that like that mind-body connection that I've been thinking about. Because, you know, I think that I noticed that like work and stuff, you know, when you're feeling tired and you're feeling stressed and you're feeling like these things, you don't really pay attention to them. I think it's difficult to get caught up in like what you're doing in life, and it's you kind of forget that you're like a living, you know, engine. And I read The 4-Hour Body recently.
Tim Ferriss.
Also Tim Ferriss, yeah. I've been on a bit of like Tim Ferriss like binge recently.
Nice.
And I read the book, and it had like some great advice on like weight loss, I think like muscle gain as well, like amongst some other things.
I think you talked about the slow carb diet.
Something like that. But one of the ones that I was interested in is like the testosterone part of it, and it's something I didn't really think about until I read the chapter, and I was like, that's actually quite interesting, because it was basically like, I mean, the main thing for me was like the sort of that ability to like heal that he mentioned, like with that high testosterone, you're like, you know, your muscles like they'll repair a lot more quickly, and it was something that I thought, you know, I'll give it a go and try like some of the techniques that he mentions in the book, and I think I might have messaged you a little bit about this.
Yeah, I remember you did say something. Yeah,
but yeah, like I have been feeling like so much better since I've like been paying a lot more attention like just doing a lot more physical activity and like really like feeling, like paying attention to how my body's like feeling and how I'm like moving and reacting when I'm doing like, I did like a lot of swimming when I was on holiday recently, and when I'm in the gym I'm also thinking about it, and I think that just feeling a lot more connected to like my body and how like I'm feeling and like how tired I am has just made me feel a lot better.
So is that kind of like, so say you're going through the motions of like a physical activity, is that kind of just like thinking of it in the moment, like kind of like really acknowledging it, or
yeah, like just really paying attention to like how your body's like moving and how it's feeling, and it's like it really kind of puts my like sort of my body and how like not just sort of everything being mental all the time and everything being like just think, like taking on a bit more of like a don't be so cerebral, like don't think too much kind of like attitude to things. And I think taking that like mental burden off has really made just things a lot easier for me, and I feel like I make a lot less mistakes and by not doing as much thinking. And yeah, it's just really interesting, really, like just paying a lot more attention to like my body. And I mean, for the testosterone thing anyway, I think some of the tips in there were like to have like 2 cold showers in the morning and the evening, which I've been doing. I've been having cold baths actually, because the showers like aren't cold enough anymore, because I've been doing it.
Oh, okay.
And you like kind of get used to it.
So are you doing what, 2 cold showers a day?
I did, and now I've switched to like having 2 cold baths.
Oh, okay.
So like I'll basically wake up, I'll have my breakfast, and another thing in the book was basically to eat like a lot of like meats and like high calorie foods in the morning and in the evening. I'm not sure what the biological basis of that was. I was basically thinking like, I guess like in a sort of, you know, ancient kind of context, having good food means that you're like in a good position in like a tribe or something, which would then boost your like testosterone, which is like your sex drive, and then like, you know, genes and everything. So that's what I thought the correlation was. So I was doing that as well. What else was there? There was like, I think there was some other like supplements that you could take, like fish oil, fermented like cod liver oil, I think, and some other things, which I haven't really been doing, to be honest. I didn't want to go that far into it, but like I've been feeling like amazing. Like I just feel a lot more in touch with like my body. I've been a lot more aggressive as well. I guess just like a side effect of like, you know, the testosterone, like high libido, which I haven't had in like years. Like since I started studying, I haven't like been overly aggressive or like, you know, had like really high sex drive with anything like since I started studying. So it's been like a really like exciting kind of experience for me recently.
So you've had like, so the cold showers or cold baths now. So what kind of food are you eating then? Like, have you changed like the kind of food you're eating? Is it like higher protein or?
I've just been eating like a lot more higher protein, which is kind of like linked in because I've been trying to supplement my gym sessions as well, because I realized that like I didn't realize like how much you actually had to eat to put like any weight on. Like you have to eat like till you feel sick, and I didn't realize that until recently. So I've
really, I thought it would just be like, you know, like a surplus above your maintenance kind of thing, like 250, 500 calories.
Yeah, like it is like, but I don't really want to spend too much of my day like tracking calories and bits and bobs. I probably will get around to it eventually, but like I mean, for the meantime anyway, like I didn't realize like you literally have to stuff your face till you like feel sick.
I don't track calories, but I feel like what's it called? I didn't think it would be like a huge amount higher.
Yeah, like I mean, maybe I'm just eating the wrong foods, but I didn't realize like you have to literally like force feed yourself and really like push yourself out of that comfort zone to really like get that food in. So I've been doing a lot more of that as well, and I just feel like I've been feeling a lot more energized. Like, you know, when I was at uni anyway, like when I'm sitting behind my laptop screen, like I'll just be like, oh, I'm like drifting off here. Like not being able to do anything like with all this new diet and everything. Like I'm, you know, waking up like super early on like maybe 6-7 hours sleep, when before I'd be like anywhere between 8 and 10 on average. Like getting up like speed walking to the gym, like doing like, you know, like an hour 2 hour workout, walking back like up a hill, and then, you know, going to work, and that's like another like maybe anywhere between 5 and 8 hours, and then still feeling energized like after the shift, which is like unreal for me. Like it's like really, really insane.
Okay, I tried cold showers before, and I haven't done it in a very long time. So you talking about I was thinking about it once you said it before. I'm probably going to give that another go, but
I mean, I'd recommend it.
The results you've seen is really interesting. So what are you eating, like what in the morning, like eggs or?
So yeah, my breakfast, I usually try and go for something quite simple so I can just like jump start into my day. But what I do is I have like a big like, I think it's like 2.55 kilogram bag of whey, like protein powder. So I either like throw that into like my cereal milk. I usually have like granola or something like that. Or I'll do them like separately if I feel like having a bit of extra milk. Because apparently milk's really good for like weight gain. Like milk's like packed with calories. So, you know, a bit of extra milk doesn't hurt. Lunch, I've been having 3 egg omelette with tuna and some like grated cheese. Like for lunch, and then for dinner I'm just doing like basically just chicken and rice, like the cheapest chicken I can find. Simple in Lidl stuff, because you know cost of living right now has not been nice. So I'm like literally in the worst period of my life to like start trying to eat more when food prices are the highest. But you know, I just thought I've got to start like at some point, so that's why that's my diet at the minute.
That's interesting.
And then like after work or before I go to bed at like 9-10 o'clock, then it's like another bowl of cereal, and so I basically repeat my breakfast. In the evening. It's like 4 meals a day. But that's only, I would not be doing this if I wasn't doing the gym.
Yeah, so you're trying to gain like muscle.
Yeah, like otherwise like the food's going to go to the wrong places. Like I'm going to have some like big stomach.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, it depends what you're aiming for. If you want to go for a surplus or if you want to go for a cut or a maintenance or whatever. Like I feel like we did talk about calorie counting a second ago. I know you don't do it, but I used to do it a while back, and I haven't done it in years. But I remember when I did do it, now I have a better understanding of calories in food, and when I like eating food, just have an understanding of how much I'm eating. If I want to gain or if I want to cut or whatever, like just I used like MyFitnessPal years ago, but just doing that helped me see food clearer, kind of thing, which I think is interesting. I feel like sometimes when I first did it, you get too obsessed with it. I want to track everything, but I feel like it's just a waste of time to track everything. I feel like it's
time consuming.
It's time consuming.
There's actually, I think there's a good app called like MyFitness or something that you can like, or where you can just scan the barcode on something and it will tell you like what's in it, and you can just use that to like track calories quite quickly. But to be honest, if you're going to track calories, you're better off just like figuring out the calories of like one day worth of food and then just repeating that day over and over again, so you don't have to keep tracking with different foods and stuff. And
have you found, if you're eating the same thing every day, have you found it repetitive or boring? Or
I mean, I've got to a point where I think with the cold showers and just removing the luxuries from my life, where it's like food doesn't really feel like, because food, when you're eating good food, it's like good food's like kind of a luxury really. Like food is just like you're eating food to like just, you know, survive, I guess. So it's, I think by removing that luxury aspect of the food, it's really helped. I think the cold showers have done that as well, like removing like, you know, the nice feeling of like hot water, like maybe, you know, even just like screen time, like monitoring that and just basically just suffering a bit more. It makes it a lot easier, I think. But I mean, I've only been doing this for maybe, you know, like 3-4 weeks and I'm still good. But if that changes, the next episode I'll be sure to give everyone an update on how that's really going. But that's my thing at the minute. And I haven't really seen any like physical results when like looking at myself in the mirror, but I still need to do like jump on some scales and do some like measurements and bits and bobs just to see if I'm progressing in the right ways or if I'm getting like a massive stomach from the food I'm eating.
Well, it's like when they talk about gaining weight in the gym, it's like you're going to obviously put fat on because you're eating a surplus of calories, but you have to do that to gain the muscle at the same time. And then you can cut like when you want, and then that's so it's like you can't gain muscle without eating more because your body needs it. Your muscles are breaking down and you need to replenish. And
I mean, unfortunately, like your body is just like a built survival machine. If you're gonna eat fatty foods, like your body's gonna be like, we're gonna take that because we might not be eating for the next week, so we need to stock up on those calories. So one thing that I really found quite like just interesting as well is that I think that, you know, when you're going on a diet, people just think, I'm just going to starve myself in order to lose weight. But I think that the real key is like keeping that consistency with food, because I mean, like I've spoken to a few different people that are having like some weight problems and they're like, you know, I'm trying to lose weight and I'm like barely eating. And I think it's because like they're eating so infrequently, but when they eat, like they're not eating like good stuff. And like when you eat so infrequently, you're basically telling your body, we don't get food that often. We need to like store energy for those times when we're not eating food. So I think that, you know, with dieting anyway, if you're interested, eating like very consistently is a big thing, because it's like you're always keeping your metabolism like ticking away, because otherwise you're not going to lose any weight.
I feel like dieting is like, if you're like going, I'm not going to eat anything because I ate too much yesterday, I feel like that's the really bad approach, because then you're gonna overeat, and then you're gonna undereat, and then you're gonna overcompensate, and then it's gonna just lead a never-ending cycle of. And it's like, if you can like have those like, I don't know, like little luxuries in your I'm not gonna call it a diet, I'm gonna call it your lifestyle of food, right? if you can have that consistency of the type of food, it doesn't have to be the same thing every day, because you could have, like, I don't know, things that you eat on a weekly basis and it changes every day, but then it repeats on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis or whatever. I feel like having those, I don't know, those little luxuries that keep you ticking over, I don't know, like a chocolate or whatever, just like, because you don't want it to be boring. Like, life is supposed to be cool and fun, and like you want those things, those treats, but like, it's like over the long term, it's all about, well, what does it look like in, you know, doing this thing for 3 months, 6 months, a year, like, versus, you know, I don't like, not like, saying you want to lose weight really quickly, I don't think is the best approach, because then you probably put it on back quicker, and then it's like a cycle of repeating, where it's probably like, oh, I've lost it all, now I've got all this for like ages, and I'm going to try to do the thing again. It's like, yeah, just, I think with everything, it's like long-term ways of living, I guess.
Yeah, I think you really just have to kind of get used to the discomfort. I think it's the big thing, is that, you know, like when I'm saying, like, even now, like when I'm trying to overeat, it's very uncomfortable. Like, I'm eating amounts of food that I feel like an animal for, when in reality it's like a very healthy amount, because my body is now doing a lot better, but I didn't know that before. I think that's like a big thing, is that even with a cold shower, it's just like getting used to that discomfort then makes, you know, those times when, oh, the hot water's not running, I can have a cold shower because it's fine. But most people might cry and be like, you know, I'm not showering, the hot water's back on. Start a riot, start calling the council, you know. But, you know, I think it's very much just getting used to that discomfort.
Becoming comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And I feel like also on that, it's like eating, so you're eating more, but it's eating the right foods as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you can't just eat, you know, you can't dirty bulk on, like, I don't know, KFC. It's like not going to work as well. Like,
yeah, I mean, you can if you're doing the exercise to, like, you're
going to put the strength on, but you're also going to put on
a hell of a lot of, like,
yeah, you're going to put on more fat versus if you ate cleaner.
Big boy belly to compensate the big muscles. Yeah, but it's just something, like, anyway, I think the summary of that would be like, it's just been interesting to sort of pay a lot more attention to, like, my body, rather than just always being so, like, thinking all the time, using my brain so often. Like, you know, I think that's just what your job, I mean, unless you're doing, like, you know, some sort of heavy labour job, I think that a lot of the time it's always just you thinking, like, even when you're at home, like, I've got events coming up, I've got bills to pay, I've got, you know, this and that coming up. You're always thinking. You never really pay attention to, like, you as, like, your body, if that makes sense. It's always just, like, up here. So it's good to, like, pay attention to everything.
That's interesting. So is it like mentally paying attention then? Like,
yeah, I kind of, like, it's just, just sort of taking that time to just check in with yourself. Like, if you're feeling tired one day, like, you know, why are you feeling tired? Maybe, like, rest up, or maybe you're not eating enough. It's just, like, to really think about that stuff, like giving your body what it needs, rather than just, like, focusing around work. Because that is, like, okay. I mean, it's a bit of a big opinion, but I generally think that the world is just very much structured around, like, you're a human being, you're alive, you're going to contribute to society by using every ounce of your life that you have. and then you're too old to work. Okay, that's fine. Here's your pension. Now do whatever. And then we have, like, a new generation of youngsters to do all the labour for us. So I think it's just about
I guess, like, you have to be more orientated on yourself in kind of, like, I feel like you have to be selfish to then be selfless. Like, I've heard this before. It's like, you got to think, what do I want to achieve? What do I want to do? What do I want to spend my time on? What do I want to make progress in? And then it's easier to contribute to society. Like, if you look at Bill Gates, right? Built Microsoft, making big bucks, now like how much he's done, gives to charity. I swear, like, all of his wealth is, like, automatically going to charity once he passes away, or like all that kind of stuff. It kind of shows how building something which benefits you can then benefit society. Like, say you use that money, the money you're making, you're investing it, and you're building up your wealth, you're building a business or whatever, then you can easier to contribute to society and help other people. Versus if when you were making, like, not much at all, and you also, like, doing a good thing of giving to charity, but then you're not building something because you, like, that money's going there, and you can give this little bit over time, but if you built this massive thing for yourself first, and then you can boom, give so much more than you ever could before over those, like, 50 years in the span of a year, because of how much you've kind of built for yourself. I think that's an interesting thought anyway.
It's definitely a big thing. Like, I think there's a big, like, saying where it's like, you can't love someone else unless you love yourself, and I think that just applies to most things. It's like, you really just have to know, like, what you want before you can start, like, doing stuff for other people. Because I mean, at the end of the day, the only person that realistically cares about you the most is yourself, right? It needs to be, because no one else is going to take that number one spot for you. Like, even the most like, you know, altruistic like person in the world is always going to be thinking about themselves as well. I don't like to use the word selfish. I use it a lot. Like, I think I've used it a lot in the past, but I feel like something that I heard a while ago, I think it was probably like a couple months ago. I think it was Tim Ferriss again with Cal Newport, and they both have their own podcasts, which are quite good in their own rights. But they were mentioning when you're like in the work environment, instead of it being selfish and you thinking about yourself, it's more of like that positive assertiveness, which is where like if you don't set your own boundaries, someone else is going to set those for you. And I think that's a really important thing in the working environment. You know, if your boss is asking you to do overtime and you don't say anything about it, then they're just going to assume like that's the default for you, like you're happy to do overtime, when in reality you might not be. So if you don't tell them that, they're just going to assume it for you. And that's where that like not selfishness comes through, but that like assertiveness is in like, but in a more positive aspect, because it's not necessarily detrimenting anyone. The only person it's detrimenting is you, right? Like doing that overtime.
You got to think of like, if you got to speak up for your own needs and your wants. Like, what are you getting out of putting that extra time in? Like, are you getting paid extra for it, or do you want to do it? Do you want to spend that time doing something else? It's like,
also like, what are you missing by doing that overtime? Like maybe you've got like a son at home, and they're like, you know, the son is like, oh, you love work more than me, and then you're like, oh god, I'd hate to get to that point in my life. Oh yeah, family's like, I don't know, interesting to think about anyway.
It comes back to the life is it's not supposed to be easy. It's like it's 100,000 decisions.
Nothing's changed from like ancient times, right? Like you're still like fighting to survive.
I think it's just like, as we get older, we become more aware of these things. Like 5 years ago, I wasn't thinking about these things at all. I was just thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. PlayStation or whatever.
Yeah, like, when's my next FIFA match or something? That was actually going to be my question of the week for you before you asked yours. I was going to actually ask you, like, what is the one thing that you miss the most about, like, just being a kid and, like, not... Just compared to adult life, like, what's that one thing that you, like, miss being able to do as a kid that you can't do now?
What do I miss?
It doesn't have to be a thing or, like, an activity, but more of, like, maybe even, like, a mindset or something.
That's interesting. I like that question. I feel like it's just...
Maybe I should have saved it for the next episode.
Now, the social episode, we're going, like, off the cuff. Like, we have, like, literally nothing planned. Like, I think this is interesting. This is an interesting question. Okay. Say it again.
So, what do you miss, like, having or doing as a kid that you don't have now? Or you can't have now even because of the way things are? Society.
I feel like that thing... I feel like just living... and not being worried, like not trying to strive for something. So let's say, like when I was like 15 or 16, like I wasn't really striving for something. I didn't have like a responsibility. I was just like living, going through the motion of school and doing what I want after. Like just that feeling of living. But then also on the other hand, I'm kind of like, I'm happy that I'm making progress on things, or I'm working on something. But it's interesting, like that state of mind then was like, there wasn't any worry, there wasn't anything like that. But like I say as well, it was like that kind of drives you in a way, but not something I would have thought about when I was younger, because it's like, we think on the mindset of what's going to give you the most enjoyment, what's the most fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing really, like, because you're not in that position where you have to do anything or you want to do anything. So you just like do what you find enjoyable. I think that's, if I sort of look back, that's probably in terms of mindset what I think was something that I internally miss but don't miss at the same time.
I guess you can't really, like, as a kid anyway, because you don't really know any better, right? Like, no one tells you about the responsibility until it suddenly just hits you like a truck.
I'm happy with that's how
I have to earn money now. I have to contribute to society.
I'm grateful for how that was then. I wouldn't have to be like, be like that when I was like 14. So. But
it's like some woke kid. He just understands the world.
What would yours be then?
I think for me anyway, I think the biggest thing that stands out for me is something I think about recently, and it's the reason I've actually like pretty much like completely stopped playing video games now, like entirely. I've cut the whole thing out of my life, like even though like mobile apps or whatever, like nothing. Yeah. And I think the reason that is because every time I like load a game and I'm in it, I just kind of like that existential dread just kind of like kicks in. It's like, what is the meaning of like me doing this? And you think about all the other stuff that you could be doing instead, that you know as an adult you should be doing, and I think it really makes it hard to enjoy it. those like things anymore, which I wish I could do, but it's just one of those. I'm in that position now where it's just like it's physically impossible for me to like enjoy playing video games without feeling some sort of guilt. So I think that's the one thing that I really miss the most is just like having that like that lack of responsibility and just being able to enjoy those moments with friends like on games and just not have to worry about it. Like you got school the next day, but like honestly, one day of school in however many you spend in your whole life isn't going to change much anyway. So I think that's what I miss.
I feel like video games is a really interesting topic in terms of like, so when I was younger I used to play a lot, and I stopped playing around, let's see, when I was in year 10, 11 when GCSE came out. I still played a little bit here and there, but
yeah, like I think
around year 13, year 12, I just like completely stopped playing to one. Now I play, like last time I played was like January when I was like, no, let's see, I've only literally the only time I played was when I've been with people in person. Last time I remember playing January, it was like New Year's or whatever. I was playing with cousins. I remember playing with mates. I remember playing like whether we played Super Smash Bros or whatever it's called. That's literally the only time I've ever played in recent years has been in person, and I've enjoyed those experiences. But I just never play online or play alone anymore. Like just I literally can't remember the last time I did that. Just actually I do Christmas. Around Christmas time. Around Christmas, so maybe like over 6 months ago was the last time I played. Like, and the time before that, a year ago. That's literally the only time I ever play, just because like I'm got time off and I'm like, let me just play a bit of like NBA. That's the only time in recent years that I've ever played by myself. But otherwise, my mindset has always been video games are things I do with people. I play in person with people
to socialise. Yeah.
I feel like it's a good something fun to do.
It is. It's definitely a fun thing to do. It has its positives, but
but now I never play alone. I just feel like, what's the point? Like I feel like you said, I feel like guilt. I feel like I'm just wasting time. I could be doing something else, and I feel like it's weird. Having these kind of conversations, these kind of way of thinking, this kind of like doing these things, like I know increasing testosterone happens because we've removed things like that and make us think about things like this.
100%. I can tell you right now that if I didn't stop playing video games, I wouldn't have done any of this like I'm doing now. 100%. No way.
Like that's the thing. I started like making like YouTube videos or whatever around like I done it a long time ago, but like around year 12, year 13, I got back into it. And I wasn't playing any video games then. I was just being so that kind of is that a correlation? Maybe not. But I kind of think like
it's hard to say.
It's like so many little things over time make a influence on us. But yeah, I don't really miss it. Like there's not like very rarely do I ever think, I want to play video games. Like, not any time in recent times. I can't remember saying that. But yeah, I like it as an in-person thing still.
Along those lines, another big part of my childhood was YouTube, and I was like big on like the gaming YouTube sphere, and just to mention a few creators like like PewDiePie. You've definitely heard of PewDiePie before, right? And all these other big YouTubers, and I think one of the things that has like frequently shocked me, like probably like regular intervals growing up, is that since I started like watching YouTube a lot as a kid, and you see like the same creators that you used to watch, like so even as long as like 10 years ago for me, and they're still like, and you've seen them grow.
Still doing I feel like some of them change, but some of them are still doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think the ones that end up doing the same thing aren't really around anymore, because I think that a big part of like content creation anyway is like adapting and evolving. And I think that's one of the. We can get into that in a little bit, but it's been very like spooky for me to see especially PewDiePie, like watching him he started off like streaming. Like his big thing was just like playing horror games and screaming really loudly, and as a kid I loved it, but now he's turned into like this like adult. He's like married now, like he's now living in Japan. Like it's just surreal for me, and I think it's like made me realize like to a certain extent like how much like I've grown as well, like alongside like these big YouTube like content creators. It kind of puts into perspective like how much time has moved. And KSI as well, like he started off doing like bedroom videos of like FIFA that were absolutely outrageous, like completely outrageous, but now he's like boxing, doing YouTube, and all these
making
other
music.
things. And, you see those like maybe like the last 7 years go by.
I remember I was literally thinking as soon as you said PewDiePie, I was thinking of KSI just because he's raised in Britain, and like someone I used to watch. I used because I was big on FIFA YouTubers. It was the game I mostly played when I was younger, and just seeing that progress is really interesting. Like seeing how being ambitious is can also be seen at a content creation level, like public, like can just see it on YouTube and seeing people making those, like just changing and adapting over time and doing what they want to do, like boxing, and like who would have thought YouTubers would have become boxers 5-10 years ago?
It's
like
you
wouldn't have thought that could have been a alteration, like him making music as well, and just loads of different people doing similar things, and like YouTubers becoming actors or actors becoming YouTubers, and like just stuff like that is kind of showing how, I don't know, lots of things are changing. Like YouTube in a way is kind of becoming like the modern TV.
I would say
modern, so. Maybe even you could even say modern Hollywood in terms of like the camera. The audience is now in front of, everyone can go in front of the audience without needing to make it to the cinema.
Yeah,
or like go rise the ranks. You can literally just go record and go to the public.
I could name a lot more YouTubers to you than I could like celebrities, like actors. And like, you know, I don't know what they take to like someone famous, but I could probably name a lot more YouTube celebrities than normal celebrities to you. Just because as a kid, I mean, for me, like as you said, it's very interesting. Like YouTube was that Hollywood, it was that TV. I never watched TV as a kid really. It was always like me on YouTube.
I feel like they both come intertwined now. Like a celebrity could be seen as both someone that is on the internet, like an internet celebrity, or someone that's on, you know, a Hollywood film. I feel like they're basically just two different types, but I feel like they're basically, there's not much of a difference in terms of like audience, like fans. Like if you look, I don't know, if in terms of look at like followers on Instagram, maybe like some YouTubers have the same as like traditional TV celebrities, or maybe even YouTubers, obviously some YouTubers would be bigger than some others. Like it's just a different type of stardom, I guess, if that's the word.
I guess like sort of going a little off topic there anyway, but sort of along the lines from before, I watched a podcast with Markiplier. He went on Impulsive.
Who's that?
Logan Paul. So Markiplier is, I can't remember, I think his name's probably Mark, right? His real name I can't remember, but he's like a very big YouTuber. I think he's got, my guess is going to be like 20-30 million subscribers on YouTube, and he's been going for a while. Like very old school, started off with gaming videos, and now obviously it's like time's gone on, his content's changed, etc, etc, but basically he's like an old school like gamer. And on this on the podcast episode, as like sort of along the topics what we were speaking about like earlier, like with, you know, the video games, is that he was saying that the impact that video games was like had on him like in his like, you know, college years. And it was something that I've never really heard anyone really talk about like before. And I thought it was very much like a thing that might have only applied to me for some reason. And it was very like kind of comforting to hear that other people had like similar experiences. And he basically was saying that he'd spent like maybe 10 years like playing World of Warcraft, very big like role-playing game. And just sort of going into like saying like how, you know, like his addiction to the game like detrimented his college and like his ability to socialize with people, and got me thinking as well, because I mean you were saying yourself as well, like FIFA, like as a kid, like what was the impact of like, you know, doing that gaming in the long term had on like, you know, your social life and how you've sort of interacted with people, like even your humor and like other things like character building. Like it's just interesting to think about.
That's interesting. What else were they saying then, like on
it was very much just along the lines of like sort of the gaming addictions, and just seeing the impact that like gaming has like on in an addictive sense. In that like it just, when you have that attachment to it, and it's just like it's just about the winning and whatever. I think that's like such a big part of video games. I think that from my experience growing up anyway, when I was doing these online multiplayers, it was so competitive and everyone wanted to be really good at like the game.
I feel like they're made to be addictive. That's why they have different levels. That's why you can have different ranks, or, you know, different status within the game. It
makes the company more money, really, isn't it?
It does. That's why else would they be doing it? It's like I remember this quote is from a documentary, The Social Dilemma. But if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Like if you're not paying for it, you're creating the money for them or whatever. And that can apply to both social media. Like that can both.
I didn't need to hear that today, Alex.
Like, yeah, it can apply to social media. It can apply to video games. It can apply to anything really. And I guess that's kind of the in the modern world, a lot of things. Oh, I get this for free. I can use Instagram for free, but you're paying with your time instead. Instead of paying with money, you're paying with your time, and
it's crazy. Because like the ad revenue and the sponsors and stuff that they do on Instagram or whatever.
Like something I was thinking about is like the people that curate these platforms, or hire, like, I don't know, vice president of advertising at Facebook or Meta or whatever, is like, how much time do you think they spend on Facebook? They're creating, they are in the back end changing the way it works. They are working on Facebook. How much are they actually using the platform? I think I read somewhere that
it might be the social dilemma that you read, like, was it on there? Or?
I can't remember. But I remember reading somewhere that like a lot of people some people that work at these companies have a whole team that manage their account. They have we don't know how much time they actually spend on the platforms that they are building, that it just raises some, like, I don't know, it just creates, I don't know, I always have so many questions about social media. Like, it's one of those things, it's like it's hard to be on completely one end of the spectrum or the other, because like then if you don't use it at all, you got like the whole FOMO thing, and that's like another whole aspect of it, and then there's like 100 different parts of it, but I feel like it's really makes you think.
I mean, just to give you an example, like Mark Zuckerberg. Like he's the CEO of like Facebook, and like is it Meta now, right?
He's
Meta,
founder
right?
of Meta.
Founder of Meta, something like that.
I don't know if he's CEO, but definitely founder.
Honestly, I'm really bad with like my company terms. I think you've got like CTO and all these other ones.
Chief executive also.
He's a pretty famous guy anyway. Yeah.
He's like no, I would say more than pretty famous, but
he's somewhere in there. But I follow him on Instagram, and the reason I do is because I listened to an episode with Mark Zuckerberg and Tim Ferriss on Tim Ferriss Show podcast. Tim Ferriss again. And I followed him on Instagram, and the posts that I've seen from him have just been him doing like surfing, I think, or like, when you go on the back of the boat and you hold the thing like surfing on the boat at the back. Is it like wind? No, something like that. Oh, what's the name of it? Doesn't matter.
No clue on the name, but I know what you mean.
That's what his posts have been about recently. I'm not sure if that's him doing that, but it could be. So that's like one example. I mean, we can recommend, like, if you're watching now, you can check out Mark's Instagram to kind of see the stuff that he's posting and maybe why he's posting it. But bring on the sort of the lines of, how are these like workers of these companies, like, Google and these, maybe, anything sort of social or internet based, how much are they using their software? And there's a really good documentary, I think, from like ages ago, and we've mentioned it a few times, which is The Social Dilemma. Very good. That was like the stepping stone for me deleting my social media, which I mentioned on here before. And there was like, I think it was right at the end, like just before the credits, they were asking like these big like people in like these companies, do you let your kids, or do you use like WhatsApp or whatever? And like, no, we don't. I don't let my kids like go anywhere near this stuff.
Well, these people that were still working at these companies.
So they like basically it's like someone that works at Instagram and like does all this stuff, and they could be like they like the people that they interviewed were very high up in these companies as well. They're in charge of like a lot of big decisions.
Were they ex people at these companies, or are they still there? Or you can't remember?
Ooh, it might have been a mixture of the two. I imagine most of them were probably ex, because I think that being in the company, there's probably a lot of policies and stuff, and they've probably got like a big like looming corporate shadow over you. Like, don't say anything about what we're doing to these journalists. But yeah, it was just very like interesting that.
Well, so they're saying that they know what's going on, but they don't let their kids use it. Well, I remember hearing.
Well, it's like like they're making a product, but they're not letting their kids touch it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like.
Why?
It's kind of like, I mean, say like you're like, is it? Oh, it's not Malbec, is it like Merbeck or something like that? Like the cigarette companies. It's like people that work and manufacture cigarettes. It's like, do you smoke though? It's like you're making a product, but would you smoke? And it's just like a very similar thing, I think. Yeah. On social media.
I guess this is kind of like the modern version of something like that. And I remember hearing Steve Jobs, like he was like founder of iPad and founder of Apple.
Apple, yeah.
Co-founder of Apple. When they created the iPad.
What was Apple? Apple before Apple was something else. I think it was like the Apple Corporation.
It was Apple Computers Incorporated or something like that. Yeah. Great film about the story of that. The first film they made about it. But anyway, I remember him saying that he didn't when he was still alive, let his like kids use an iPad, like use the iPad, like the thing that he founded or like created.
It's crazy.
It's it makes you think, because these things are made to be addictive again.
We spoke about this a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like the slot machine, like sliding motions, and some other like the red on the notification icons. Is a big thing as well, right?
And I feel like I said this before, but I'm gonna say it again anyway. Like I've
go for it.
I'm content in a place where I'm happy that I am aware of how these things are kind of working. Of course, I don't know the actual way of the back end working, but I'm aware of, like, I'm not just going through the motions like a robot. I'm not just using social media without thinking about it. I'm not just scrolling like a robot. I am aware of when I'm going on the platform, or like if I catch myself going on to it without even thinking about it, and then actually catching myself and actually thinking about it. I feel like if you can get to that point to just think about more about if you're using these things like that, then I think, and you still want to use it, I still use social media, I think that's alright, as long as you're more intentional about it. Because like, if I've gone through times where I've used it lots of hours in a day versus time I've used it much more intentionally, I feel like just happier when I'm using it, just like more content when using it less, just like doing other actually doing other things, like not just being a robot and scrolling on social media. Because like
a dopamine absorber.
What's the point of it? Like
a good. Oh, sorry, go on.
I think I was finished, but
okay. But I think like a good experiment for like anyone listening would be just to see like how your relationship with social media is just to like cut ties with it, like do the detoxes that we mentioned on here a few times, and just see like how you respond to it. Like, do you start like itching, to use it again? Do you find yourself like picking up your phone and then being like, wait, where's Instagram? And then you're like, wait, why did I even pick up my phone? Why am I even here in the first place?
You know what I found recently? It's weird, but I keep checking my to-do list. I don't know what it is. My to-do list. I don't know what it is. I feel like I don't have social media on my phone. Like, I go on the web browser to check it sometimes, but I don't have the apps on my phone anymore. And it keeps weird. I keep checking my calendar, my to-do list. I feel like I check it too many times a day. I don't know what it is, if it's something psychologically or me worrying that I'm not going to get something done that I have a deadline for.
Maybe it could be a fear,
I don't know what it is, but I keep checking my to-do list. I feel like don't know. It's something that's happened like literally like recently. I'm trying to figure it out. But
could it maybe be, I don't want to like call you out here.
No, go for it.
I'm roasting you right now, actually. I lied. Could it maybe be like, I mean, this is just relating from my own experience anyway, because I feel like I feel very similar. It could maybe, is it like maybe like just that lack of like planning and scheduling that could be like a thing? Because I noticed that when I wake up in the morning and I don't have a plan for the day, I find myself just like drifting to random things that just, that I just want to do in the moment, rather than doing something that I should be doing. So like a big thing for me anyway, since I come back from holiday, is like I want to get back into learning Japanese and like doing my languages again. But I've just found myself like, if I don't sit down and schedule those hours, like say like on that to-do list anyway, like that Japanese could be on my to-do list. I could check it, I know it's there, but like without that like set schedule, like for me, like if I don't plan the night before what I'm going to do the following day, then I just find myself like drifting. Like I'll wake up, like I'll do my breakfast and everything else that I'm like committed to doing. I'll go to the gym and then I'll come back and I'm like, I'll just like start like sniffing around. Where's the nearest dopamine for me? Like I'll just pick up my guitar or something and I'll just start like playing guitar. Just like, do I need to play guitar right now?
Now you might be onto something there, because I used to time block all the time. Like every night or every morning I would time block what I'm going to do today, and then I stopped doing that a while ago, just because I felt like I was over scheduling things. I was like, okay, maybe live more in the moment or whatever.
Okay.
But I feel like maybe because I wasn't very big on time blocking, and it helped me like work on things. So like I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Schedule things around classes or whatever. And then now I'm like, so my current approach is I've just got like the different projects that I'm working on, and just then kind of just like not really time blocking a lot. That could be it, because I feel like at the moment I've just been like just going through the motions without much planning beforehand.
I mean,
because like, I think this Yeah,
it's good. It's definitely good to like. I mean, have those moments where it's like don't plan, like just let loose, like do something like something like spontaneous, like do something like wild every now and then, or do something that you just want to do just to let off some steam, like just let your brain take over for a little bit. Don't like think about it. But I think in the long run anyway, and I can't remember the name of the author, but it's 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. We can put it in the show notes anyway, but it's by someone, a very smart woman anyway.
I've got the book on my Kindle now after you recommended it. I haven't read it yet, but...
Yeah, but in there, what she mentions a lot is like to live a happy life. Obviously, this is obviously subjective because a happy life is going to be different to different people, but it was like scheduling is a very big thing, and sticking to a schedule means that you have to do a lot less thinking in the moment, and you can just spend a lot more time like just enjoying the things you are doing. So like that is apparently like a very good thing for just long-term happiness. But again, it's like I also think it's quite important to just really don't have a plan for some days. Like just wake up one day, maybe check your to-do list in the morning. Is there anything urgent? No, let's just do whatever. Like just go with the flow in a way.
I feel like those different having that time where you are being more scheduled and more routine followed, then versus those times where you're a bit more, spontaneous. Because I feel like before I was really scheduling all the time, just like having to have a plan, not like the whole day being scheduled, like not every single minute, but like having a plan, this is going to happen then, and then there's some other times which are blank or whatever. And then kind of going to a time where nothing is really scheduled, just knowing that I have work, different tasks, and kind of just like doing it.
A routine can be like unroutinely routine. Like you could in your routine just have like spontaneous days out, right? That can be a routine thing that you do. Something spontaneous routine,
like having a scheduled not schedule in a way.
Like having an unscheduled schedule is a schedule.
Having a scheduled non-schedule.
Something like that. Like you do something like screw it, next month I'm going to travel. That can be a schedule. But it's not like routine.
Schedule spontaneity.
Oh, now we're getting like into definitions of like routine and schedule. But you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be like consistent. It can be inconsistent and still be routine. Does that make sense? Like the difference, like say like you planned a year ahead. You can do something like I'm going to do this every 3 months, but no, you do it every 4 months or do it every 6 months instead. That's still a routine.
Lots of words being chucked out, but interesting. No, that's really made me think.
Something to think about anyway. I mean, if you're having trouble, like, because I mean, it's quite easy to be like a productivity like workaholic. Like you're always thinking about, what have I got to do? Because you don't want to like disappoint people, and you don't want to make mistakes.
I guess that comes back to systems, like having things and having systems and structure in place to kind of make your life easier.
I think it just goes back to what I said a second ago, right? It's like if you do have that schedule, you have to you just do a lot less thinking, like just like block your thinking and like planning, and then you don't have to think for the rest of it, because it's like, I trust past Luke, past Alex to make the decision here. I don't have to worry. I'll just do it. And
I think it just really makes me grateful, like thinking about these things and having these conversations and thinking about having that thought of, I don't know, I know I want to be working and I am working, but I feel there's a little bit of unstructure here, and then thinking about these things and having conversations like this is possible because we cut things out like video games or whatever. Like I feel like progress like this happens because of intentionality and wanting to make progress and being ambitious and
I remember this was a sort of a time like sort of near January when I started writing articles. So that's kind of like a thing of the past now. It was more of a
conscious thoughts.
It was like a platform for me. It was something that I tried to start, but I didn't.
Did you feel was it like a journaling kind of thing, but kind of like researched articles at the same time? Or
when we spoke to Hannah, it was a very similar like story to Hannah, where it's like I'd been through some like things and I wanted to like journal how I was going through it, but I also thought it could benefit some other people. But I didn't realize with the cost of the website and all these other stuff I was trying to keep up on the side, it wasn't really feasible for me. So I ended up like stopping it eventually.
There is something called Medium as well, by the way, where you can like upload like blog posts for free online.
Something to think about anyway. But I haven't really been doing too much writing because it was quite time consuming, and I mean mainly for me it was like very good to clear my thoughts and get stuff out on paper. But the first one I wrote was like you always have time, And
Yeah.
you know, when you're saying like about the time blocking earlier, and it's like when you're taking out video games and things like that, it's like I don't really like to think that you don't have time for things, and I think that when you say you don't have time, you know, to do something, like when you say, "Oh, sir, I don't have time to like go out with friends and stuff," what you're really saying is, I don't think this is important enough to make time for it.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's always something that you can substitute, and there's always a way around things. Like, I mean, yeah, like I say, you have work, but then even at the same time, like that you're still putting your job before your friends, and you know, this kind of stuff, and that's just something that I was I've been kind of living with that sort of like mindset and that moral like since, where it's like when I'm saying I don't have time for something, what I'm like really saying is that I'm not making the effort to make time for you.
Yeah.
I can imagine there's a lot of people listening to this thinking, what do you mean? Like, I'm so busy, like I just don't have time. But like when you really like sit and, you know, you start paying attention to, you know, how much time you're spending on like video games, for example, and how much time you're spending on social media, you'll realize that, okay, get those out of my life. They're not as important as my friends. Now I've got an extra 2 hours in the day. I could have seen my friends for those 2 hours.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I feel like life is long. It's very long.
It's just so long.
But I feel like we make it short, you know. We fill these things with the thing that is, you know, easiest, that's in arm's reach, that's like it's easy to do. And yeah, I think Aristotle said something like that. Like, life is long, we make it short, or something like that. But, yeah.
Interesting. Actually, I read a book recently called I think it's Works Well with Others by Eric Barker, I want to say.
I think I've heard of him. Wait, did you really mention this book? No.
I think I've messaged you about it. I recommended it to you, and basically it's kind of like a book on like, I think the subtitle is like how everything we know about relationships is wrong, and it basically just goes and debunks like common beliefs about like relationships and communications with people based on like science. And one of the things that was very consistent was like with friends was Aristotle's quote, as in like a friend is like, actually let's start off with, how do you define a friend?
How do I define a friend?
How do you define a friend?
Okay, how do I define a friend? Okay, so I feel like, I was speaking to someone about this, and I was like, everyone has a different definition of a friend, right? So I think a definition of a friend for me is like someone that's so someone that I can no because like because it's like, because like I feel like you've got acquaintance, you've got friend, someone that you like, you know, but you wouldn't really call a friend, but someone that you like a network in your network, but not a friend. So there's like, a friend is someone I feel like there's different types of friends as well. Okay. So you got like you know, like close relationships friends. So for example, I'll call you a friend, right?
Yeah.
I'll call you a friend, but like someone that I know through like the YouTube world, I would call like a like creator friend or something like that, but not, it'll be a different type of friend. Like, I feel like a friend like you is much of a closer friendship versus someone like that, which is kind of like a kind of more formal kind of thing. And yeah, and I feel like also, I remember reading before or watching before or whatever, like friends like the relationships of friends develop over time. Like someone that you call an acquaintance, the more hours you spend with them, then they become a friend, and then they become a close friend, and then they become a best friend, just like literally by how many hours you spend with them. Yeah, I don't have a concrete definition if you were looking for that, but
I think that could actually be like an interesting topic, like making friends, especially because I mean first of all, like congrats to all GCSE and A-level results day, like everyone got their results, but
should have said that at the start, but
yeah, congrats guys. Woo, if you listen this far in, you get like a special secret applause. But like, yeah, going to uni anyway, I think it could be something quite interesting, and basically like linking back to Aristotle anyway. So Eric in this book basically is trying to define what a friend is, and he goes through like all these things, like, is it someone that, you know, that you sacrifice yourself for? Like, is it like an altruistic relationship, or is it like, you know, like a mutual exchange of transactions? But you know, you can do that with anyone really. Like. But basically, and according to science as well, they've done like MRI scans and all this, and apparently that a real friend is like, the biological basis of it is that you actually confuse yourself as being part of the other person.
Really? In
a friendship. And like basically when they were doing like brain scans and asking people to like talk about their friends, like parts of the brain were lighting up that are part of like self-identity, which I thought was really like insane.
That's interesting. So saying like that, you identify with them as in a part of yourself. Like you are is like similar, like literally the same, or like you literally think you're the same in the subconsciously, or like you have like similarities that maybe that's a reason you think you are friends, or
as in like you basically you confuse your identity with them, and like I think like a good trait of a good friend, for example. One of the things that I was thinking about when I read this in the book is that like if a good friend of mine was telling me like how do I look in this outfit, I'd be like I'd tell them honestly, because I'd be honest with myself. Like if that was me wearing that, like, I'd be honest.
Yeah.
So it's like, am I then confusing my friend for like me in a way?
Okay, yeah.
Just one of the examples I was thinking about. I was trying to make it make sense in my head, but apparently like that's what like a friend like scientifically can be defined as anyway in this book. Obviously it's not concrete because it's like subjective again, and apparently this dates back like to even Aristotle was saying things like this, like a friend is like a projection of yourself. And so that's basically the relationship that I found when you said Aristotle. It's just something I was thinking about recently.
I never really heard of it like that before. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it started talking a lot about like like Darwin's theory of evolution and trying to explain like altruism, which is like a thing that you see a lot in nature, where it's like an animal will purposely put themselves at risk for someone else.
Yeah.
But in an evolutionary sense, someone that does that is going to die. Right? Like that wouldn't survive. Yeah. So that means that altruism shouldn't really exist because all the selfish animals would survive. It's like, where does altruism come in this theory of evolution? And apparently, it's basically because, in an evolutionary sense, you literally confuse yourself and your like own identity with a friend, which is why you would be altruistic towards them, because of that confusion with self. Just an idea. Just throwing that out there.
No.
Bit of philosophy, maybe.
Interesting.
But that's just, I just thought it was really cool. And then the book goes on to talk about like, like some good advice for making friends. The two big points were basically like spending time, like you mentioned, and also being vulnerable is apparently a big one.
That makes sense.
Like basically like revealing things about yourself that you wouldn't necessarily want to tell people. Like, I'll be honest guys, I play like video games like 6 hours a day. I don't like telling people. And that's like a good way to make friends with people. And it's like, it builds that trust, and then that trust kind of builds more trust.
It also comes to timing those things right. Like, I think like naturally we open up to people the more time we spend with them because we trust them more.
I guess one one brings the other, right?
Yeah, so. Like, but if you just like, if you're I don't know, it's like one of those things. Like, you wouldn't just tell a stranger your problems, like, like because that's kind of like,
Actually, I will
like
give a good story. A little bit of a Bateman backstory here, but I after I finished my final exams, I met up with a couple of friends of mine, just to like celebrate, like, oh, we finished, kind of like drink.
Nice.
And there was quite a few different people from my course there that I hadn't really spoken to, but at this point I was at a point in my life where I didn't really have much shame in myself, and I was trying to really figure out like what my true identity was, and I just tried to be myself rather than trying to put up this like, oh yes, I am Luke Bateman, I'm a very smart individual kind of like persona. And I found that like when I was talking with them, I was mentioning like, and they were like, oh yeah, like, aren't you super smart, like, do you know what you want to do when you like now you finish? I'm like, no. I'm like, guys, I'm gonna be honest, I'm in the void right now. And like the conversation was just going like so well, and I got messages from these people like afterwards being like, hey, you want to hang out again? Like, hadn't had that in like so long, like really, really long time. And I think that allowing myself to be vulnerable in that
kind
situation,
of like opening up, that's interesting.
Like because a lot of people probably wouldn't want to admit that they don't have a clue what they're doing. Like people like direction, it gives stability. Like people don't want to show they're unstable. So by doing that, I was like able to really connect a lot better with these people, and then like showing my vulnerability, they were then like, oh, we feel totally the same. Like, I
think it's a very common thing amongst young people. Like, I remember talking about it with people before as well. It's like, it's one of those things, like, I guess it links to honesty, like just being is vulnerability, honesty are kind of different, but I think that is interesting.
I think that like just when it comes to just anything really, like being honest with yourself is such a big thing. I feel like it's so easy to just like try and hide negative things about yourself, and one of the things I've been trying to do is just always take the back seat, like always just be like ignorant. I think we've mentioned this on here before, but it just really opens yourself up to learning new things. Because I think otherwise you just end up getting trapped in like a cycle of thinking you're, you know, okay and thinking you're doing well, when in reality you could be really doing much better, but you don't give yourself the space to learn if things could be better. Yeah,
just I guess it's taking that open-mindedness that maybe I don't have everything figured out, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there isn't anything.
Especially like with A levels and every like results day and things, like it's totally fine to not know what you're gonna do. Like just follow. They say follow your heart, which is kind of cheesy, but it actually is so true. Like you really just need to do what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter like what your parents are telling you. I think it's a big, even with schools. Like this has kind of been a bit of a hot topic for me recently, actually, because I found out about this company called Not Going to Uni, and they really like they advertise like apprenticeships and stuff. And it got me thinking like, schools really push you for uni. Like they really push. Like I mean, especially like for me anyway. Like I felt like the schools were like really like kind of forcing kind of like uni on you in a way, like really encouraging like that academia and pushing. Like I didn't really get much like apprenticeship support. I don't think really.
I feel like there was. So I'm just thinking back. I feel like they pushed university more than apprenticeships and stuff like that. They said like there's also this option, blah 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 blah.
But
I feel
uni.
like they were like
uni.
They were like, this is the path laid out for uni. This is how you apply. This is what you do. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But the apprenticeship was like, you want an apprenticeship? You apply for one. Like, I feel like still there isn't as much structure because university has been happening for years. People are like, okay, you do this, you do your personal statement, blah 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 blah. But there was for apprenticeship, it's like, if you want one, figure it out. Like,
I just feel like the uni shouldn't really be the default for students these days. I feel like it's something that you really need to like love. And I've got so many stories of people like dropping out of uni because they like hate the subject or, you know, not to scare anyone, because they hate the subjects or they just couldn't deal with the workload. And I think the reason they can't deal with the workload just comes back to not being able to enjoy it. Like no one wants to work. Like work isn't tiring, it isn't fatiguing if you enjoy it, I don't think. So it's like, you know, you're obviously just not studying something that you enjoy that much, really. I think what it boils down to. Like obviously there's some exceptions. If you've got like big essays to write, it is like physically tiring, but you know, if you enjoy it, that mental aspect of it shouldn't really be there. I think it'd be nice actually just to have like a little career session, honestly, because I feel like, I mean, even for me now, I mean, I'm in a bit of a weird phase, like just having graduated, you know. I think it's like adult responsibilities are settling in, and I think it's just, it'll be interesting to just talk a bit about careers. I think could be something we could do in future.
I feel like the friends one is also interesting to talk about, especially because people are starting uni. I feel like there's a lot that from reflecting on how like university has been and like making friends at uni, etc. Kind of like just talking about that and giving advice on things. I think that could be also an interesting episode.
Be nice to talk about. I mean, because even like I think we've mentioned this a few times, but even just doing like these talks, it's just like so great for me and you. I think it's just like great to just get this off our like
off our chest,
just talk about it, think about it, you know. So
I mean, I've really enjoyed this one, 100%.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this sort of conversation too. I don't know how long we've been chatting for, but
literally we've nothing we talked about. We literally had planned, apart from the question of the week you thought of in your head and the one I thought while we were talking.
That's right. It was a good question. Yeah, we had double question of the week this week.
Yeah, no, nice.
There you go.
Social episode. Okay, should we wrap up? We're at 1 hour 22. Wow. Yeah. I'm
happy to finish that. That was a very insightful conversation. I think I actually had a really good time. Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to
make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts. If you are listening to us on any audio platform, we are also on YouTube and we are also on all audio platforms. We also have the website where you can, see all the episodes, but also, of course, available on all platforms. Thanks a lot for listening.
Of course, you can drop us an email as well if you have any questions about what we're talking about. If you need any advice, me and Alex have been through our fair share of university things, and we've spoken to some really insightful people as well. Actually, like at Rado recently, which was great. We spoke to Hannah. Yeah. Spoke to Lewis a while ago as well. Yeah. So we'll be happy to answer any questions. It'd be nice to hear from everyone.
And also, of course, social media and stuff like that. If you want to see any clips from the podcast, see more micro form content. We're also over there as well. Thanks a lot for listening or watching or both, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one, guys. Bye.